Here's a polished introduction you can use for your story video. Welcome to Tales Unfolded. We're so glad to have you here. Tonight, we bring you a story filled with mystery, wisdom, and timeless lessons from the old city of Al-Rafidain. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. In the old days, in the city of Al-Rafidain, there was a man called Marwan was a modern man, but he was suffering from a tight situation and a shortage of resources. He was constantly wandering the old market, looking for things that were too expensive to build his new home. One day, while he was walking among the narrow alleys and the vendors, he noticed an old bucket of water that was sold at a low price. He bought it and returned it to his house. A few days later, while he was pulling the water from the river, the bucket fell from his hands and broke. At that time, Marwan noticed something strange between the rocks. There was something buried in the mud. It seemed as if it was buried carefully inside the bucket. He removed the mud carefully to discover that it was an old bucket that still contained some of the ash inside it. Marwan was surprised by what his friend had done, as it seemed as if he had hidden it in a way that only the most valuable things and the most expensive things were hidden in it. Marwan returned to his house and gave the bucket to his wife, Layla, after he had cleaned it and returned it to her. Layla thought it was a gift from him, so she was happy with it and wanted to decorate it for her husband. While she was waiting for him to return, she noticed a light bulb in the corner of the house. She approached it to find the source of the light bulb, but she did not find anything. She continued to search until she lifted the carpet to find her golden purse, which Marwan had given her on their wedding day, and which she had previously lost. Without finding it, she was surprised by its ability to see its meanings despite its existence under the carpet. When Marwan returned and told him the story, he realized that the carpet was made of a structure that strengthens the vision and eliminates darkness from the eyes. Therefore, he advised his wife to keep the carpet in a safe place, as it may be useful one day. On another day, while Marwan was walking in the market, he heard a caller announcing, "Oh, people of Medina, the great merchant Salim has lost his purse in this market, and whoever finds it will receive half of what is in it as a reward for him." Marwan quickly returned to his house and asked Layla to bring the strange carpet. He closed his eyes with it and returned to the market. He walked back and forth until he saw a light coming from a donkey that belonged to an old man who sold milk. He approached him and greeted him, then asked him, "Did the merchant Salim pass by you and get anything from you?" The old man replied, "Yes, he passed by me yesterday and asked for a cup of milk. He drank it and left without paying his price." Marwan smiled and said, "I will return his price to you, and more. The money purse he had lost in your journey has fallen, and he has promised half of what is in it to whoever finds it." Marwan extended his hand and took out the money purse, then gave it to the milk merchant, asking him to take it to the merchant Salim, to give it to him and get his reward, so that he can share the reward between them. The milk merchant was glad and thanked Marwan for his trust and help. The old man took the money purse to the merchant Salim and handed it to him with all his trust. But the merchant Salim did not show the satisfaction he was expecting from him. Rather, he took out one piece of money from the bag and threw it to the milk merchant lightly. The old man was surprised by this cowardly act and asked the merchant to give him half of what was in the bag, as he had promised. Then Salim said coldly, "Do you know how much is in the bag? You must have opened it without my permission." Then he accused him of stealing some money from the bag and kicked him out of his council in a state of shock. The poor milk merchant came back sad, shaking his head, and told Marwan what had happened. Anger was ignited in Marwan's heart because of the treachery of his promise. Marwan promised the old man, saying, "The day will come when we will return the truth to its owners, and we will teach this oppressor a lesson he will never forget." On his way back to his house, Marwan noticed a faint light shining from the corner of an abandoned house near the market. He was curious about it and began to turn the soil, where the light was slowly increasing as he removed a layer of soil. But he did not find anything, and the more he dug, the brighter the light was. While he was confused about it, he noticed the existence of the passage around it, and he was afraid that it would attract people's attention to it. So he decided to come back at night. He returned to his house and waited until the night fell on the city. He carried his bag and headed for the abandoned house to complete the excavation. Hope was filling his heart. Perhaps he would find a treasure that would save him from distress. After a while of digging, Marwan felt that the passage was clogged with something hard. He removed the soil to find a stone that matched the edges. It appeared to be a rocky door, hiding something under it. Marwan carefully lifted the stone to discover a dark secret hidden in the depths of the earth. And when he was worried about going down, he heard a slightly scary sound echoing from inside the secret. Suddenly, a huge, black-colored snake looked at him with a hideous and scary head he had never seen before. Marwan retreated in shock, but his determination did not waver. He was determined to dig the treasure, no matter what it cost him. He began to push the stone a little until the snake appeared again. He hit it with his stick with force, believing that he had hit it with a hammer. But it appeared again, as if nothing had hit it. In a moment of deep shock, Marwan remembered the old stories he heard from his people, which say that the old treasures are often guarded by the jinn in the form of horrors or terrifying animals to stay safe from the desires of strangers. Here Marwan realized that he had no choice but to be brave and take his next step to make sure of the health of those old rumors. He gathered his forces and advanced towards the scary snake. Then he addressed it, saying, "Are you the guardian of this place?" The snake shook its head slowly, and its eyes shone with terrifying lights, as if it was confirming the truth of what it heard from the stories of its ancestors. Marwan was terrified of what he saw, but he convinced himself that it was just a coincidence, as snakes shake their heads by their nature. Marwan decided to close the hole with some soil so as not to attract the snake's attention, but he left a small entrance for the snake, hoping to escape from it and leave the place. Marwan returned home and told his wife what happened to him and told her, "The snake that we own is not normal, and its horn is not just a mixture of herbs that dazzles the eye, as we thought. It is a strange horn that shows the brilliance of the beautiful things that lurk behind the walls, even if they are buried under the ground," he added with enthusiasm. "I am sure that we will become rich by the grace of God. Then, with this strange snake..." As the sun rose in the morning, Marwan noticed that the effect of the horn had disappeared. So he left again and immediately went to his place, hoping to find the snake that had left the nest. When he arrived, he found the place empty, because those were the first hours of the morning. He quickly removed the soil until the stone appeared again, but this time he was surprised by a shocking surprise. The snake disappeared completely. Marwan sat in amazement, unable to explain what had happened. He kept thinking for a long time, until he was able to despair. He came back to his broken house and told his wife what had happened. She was shocked, but she said, "Don't worry, the horn will lead you to other treasures." Her words of hope returned to Marwan's heart. He remembered that the horn was able to discover the hidden treasures in other places, but he realized something important. The horn will come out one day. He was afraid that this would happen before he found a treasure that would save him from poverty. Then a smart idea occurred to him. He went to the market and rented a horse for a week. He bought some pieces of horn, feathers, and ink. Then he set off. He had to return to the city in search of the treasure. Every time he saw a bright light in a place, he took out a piece of the horn and drew a map that specified the location of the treasure. He continued in this state for a whole week until he toured the city and all the places around it. With this, he was able to plan and memorize all the locations of the treasures so that he could refer to them later and start his journey in search of them without worrying about the horn after now. Finally, the long-awaited day came when Marwan decided to start digging in search of the treasures. He chose places far from sight, abandoned for a long time, to make sure that they do not belong to any of the inhabitants of the city. Marwan started in the first abandoned place he encountered, but the strange thing repeated with him, as it happened in the first burial ground. And every time he tried there, he found the treasures guarded by huge snakes and scary animals. And when he went back to search the place during the day, he found it empty, without a trace of the treasure or the guard. Marwan was convinced that the treasures were really guarded by hidden forces, and he had to find a way to extract them. He returned to the city, disgusted, and claimed that his father had left him a will for a buried treasure. He began to question and ask people about these things. He learned from them that the extraction of treasures requires special rituals. First, to be extracted at night. Second, to be accompanied by a righteous man, knowledgeable about religion and the affairs of the jinn. Third, to read specific verses of the Quran to drive away the guards of the treasure. Fourth, the man must be steadfast, strong in faith, and fear only God. Marwan did not find a better jinn to help him in his mission. He went to him, disgusted, and asked him for help, but the jinn forced him to have half the treasure. Marwan hesitated at first, but he agreed after realizing that he had no choice. When night fell, they walked together until they reached a ruin hiding a burial that Marwan had drawn on his map. The excavation began until the black snake appeared again. The jinn began to read verses and reminiscences in a hoarse voice and uttered incomprehensible words. Then he brought out a jug of water that he had read special verses on, and he poured some of the water on the snake. The snake rose in anger and raised its tail. Then the jinn hit it hard and it fell on him. Marwan saw the scene and ran away from the place, but he could not leave the jinn alone. He returned to him, carried him on his shoulder, and took him home. Then he returned to his ruined house. The next day, Marwan went to the market, and he found people gathering to talk about the jinn's condition. They were talking about how the jinn took revenge on him, and how he became a seat that could not move despite his knowledge of religion. A strange man passed by them who seemed to have signs of integrity and wisdom. He interrupted their conversation, saying, "The righteous one is the one who, when asked for his service, answers without a reply. And when he is entrusted with a secret, he fulfills it. For knowledge is trust, and service is worship, and secret is He added a firm note. The righteous one is the one who, when asked for his service, answers without a reply. And when he is entrusted with a secret, he fulfills it. For knowledge is trust, and service is worship." Then the sheik left, leaving the people puzzled by what he said. But Marwan alone understood the meaning, for he was the only one who knew what was going on between him and the righteous one. The wise man's words opened Marwan's eyes to a bitter truth. The sheik of the mosque was not the righteous one who could face the guards of the treasures of the jinn. He realized that he needed another person who possessed faith and strength that he did not find in the sheik. Marwan left in dismay. He asked a man who had previously taken out a buried treasure for him. After a long search, people led him astray. Salim, the merchant. Marwan discovered that the wealth of Salim, the great merchant, was not the result of the trade alone. Rather, it was the result of a map of a precious treasure that changed its state overnight, from a simple merchant to the richest man in the city, and it became a place and a famous word for him. Marwan realized that Salim was known for his bad reputation, and was certain that he would refuse to help him or ask a high price in return. While he was thinking of an alternative plan, he had a bold idea. He went to the milk merchant, who had previously found a bag of coins during their last trip. He said to him, "I have a plan that will make us the richest in the city, and we will drop Salim, the merchant, from his throne. But I need your help." The milk merchant immediately agreed, longing to return the watch 2 hours. Marwan explained his plan to him. "Go to him and tell him that you have found a map of a precious treasure. Offer him half of the booty in exchange for taking care of extracting it." The milk merchant went to Salim the merchant and told him the story. Salim agreed without hesitation, because wealth deserves adventure. He brought Salim the sheik, the pious man who had previously accompanied him to extract his treasure, and they waited until the darkness was over. They reached the place of the excavation, and they started digging until the guard of the burial mound appeared, a huge and small carcass. The sheik began to read and say, "Recite the covenant that Noah took from you. Recite the covenant that Solomon took from you, that you will not harm us, and that you will not depart." But the guard did not move. So he took a bucket of sand from the ground and threw it on them, and they all burned in the fire. They took out the treasure and divided it among themselves. The milk merchant gave half of his share to the pious sheik, although the sheik refused at first, but he accepted it after a lot of persuasion. Then everyone returned to their normal state, and Salim the merchant was disturbed. Bye! The behavior of the milk merchant, who gave the pious sheik a large amount of gold, although he was not obliged to do so. However, Salim the merchant did not know that this was part of the plan prepared by Marwan to put him in a tight spot. The next day, Marwan returned to the milk merchant and told him about the completion of the plan. The milk merchant went to Salim, the merchant, and said to him, "My cousin came to me after he learned that I was able to extract the buried treasure for him, which has a map of his burial that is located in one of the outskirts of the city. This burial contains treasures that exceed what I have extracted a lot, and because of his trust in me, he entrusted me to extract it. I could have gone to the pious sheik to help me in the mission without him knowing, but I preferred you to share with me this time, especially since you are Salim the merchant, and I will be proud of that in front of the people." Salim, the merchant, was perplexed by the words of the milk merchant, who immediately agreed and said, "Yes, of course! Let us ask the pious sheik to help us in the extraction of the buried treasure from the jinn." The milk merchant replied, "I see that you are better and more pious than the pious sheik whom you are going to invite. As my cousin has advised me to have a third of the buried treasure, I will give you my share, especially since you have become close to me. He also advised me to give the pious sheik a third of the treasure, but I see that you are better off with that. What do you think of playing the role of the pious sheik and performing the rituals instead of him? The mission is not difficult for you, and you have become familiar with it after you accompanied the sheik for a long time." Salim, the merchant's arrogance increased, and he immediately agreed without thinking much, overwhelmed by the idea of the gold he heard about. And when the evening came, the two set off until they reached the outskirts of the city, where the burial site was located, and the excavation began until they heard the sound of a snake coming from inside the coffin. The two returned, then waited for Salim the merchant until the snake appeared, and when he saw it, he was surprised by its huge size, which he did not expect. He thought it would be guarded like the first burial sites. Salim, the merchant, was terrified, but he tried to read the rituals as the pious sheik taught him. But he was so terrified that he could not control himself, and he began to weep. And when he realized that the snake would not retreat, he decided to imitate the pious sheik. So he lifted a bucket of sand and threw it on the snake. Then the snake exploded in anger and hit Salim the merchant until he covered him. The milk merchant rushed towards him, carried him on his back, and then drove him home. This was part of the plan prepared by Marwan to teach him a hard lesson, and make it a lesson for anyone who thinks he can manipulate others. From that day on, Marwan began to dig the coffins and extract their treasures with the help of the milk merchant and the pious sheik. He became the richest man in the city, and the population of the city grew to become him and the great merchants. After the evil jinn hit Salem and he lost his ability to move, and because Marwan used to help people and take their weaknesses and manage the business in the market, it was better to help his friend, the milk merchant. The Prince of Busra took care of the city after he heard news about his virtue and pious character. Marwan appointed the pious sheik as the judge of the city, and he took him and the milk merchant, the closest relatives to him, after his wife. As for the collection of treasures, it has no value after it is no longer in the city, in need of God's grace and the good management of Marwan and his companions. This is where our story ends. I hope you liked the story, and I hope you support me by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. Every tale we share carries a hidden lesson, and we can't wait to bring you the next one very soon. If you enjoyed this journey, please subscribe to Tales Unfolded, give this video a like, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss a new story. Leave us a kind comment below. We truly enjoy reading your thoughts and reflections. Until next time, stay curious and let the Tales keep unfolding.